Some heroes fight to save the world, some fight because they have nothing left. And then there's Verso, a man caught between memory and purpose, between who he once was and who he is forced to become. In a world where existence itself is painted, erased, and rewritten, Verso's journey isn't about becoming stronger. It's about discovering whether there's anything left worth becoming. This is the full story of Verso, his rise, his losses, and the evolution that transforms him into one of Expedition 33's most unforgettable characters. Before revelations, before the impossible choices, there was simply Verso. At first glance, he doesn't look like a classic hero. He isn't loud, he isn't reckless, he doesn't chase glory. Verso enters the story carrying something heavier, experience. There's a stillness around him, like someone who already understands that victory always costs something. While others push forward with hope, Verso moves with caution, not because he lacks courage, but because he understands consequences. And that difference changes everything. This is where his evolution begins, not with strength, but with perspective. To understand Verso, you first have to understand Expedition 33's world. This isn't a place where people simply live. It's a place where existence itself feels temporary, beautiful, fragile, and always one moment away from disappearing. Every expedition is born from the same impossible question: can humanity survive long enough to matter? And that question hits Verso differently, because unlike many others, he doesn't treat survival as enough. He wants meaning, purpose, something permanent inside a world designed to erase people. That desire quickly drives every decision he makes, even when he never says it out loud. Verso's early role can almost feel restrained, measured, calculated, but underneath that control, there's conflict, because people like Verso usually aren't calm, they're exhausted from carrying responsibility, exhausted from watching things disappear, exhausted from pretending they aren't afraid. And what makes his character work is that Expedition 33 never turns him into a perfect hero. He hesitates, he questions, he struggles, not because he's weak, but because he understands the weight of failure. That makes every action feel intentional, every battle feel personal, every decision feel expensive. Every great character reaches a moment where the image they built starts breaking. For Verso, that moment isn't one giant explosion, it's gradual, small realizations, unexpected losses, questions with no satisfying answers, and eventually, the confidence that once looked like strength starts looking more like survival. That's when his evolution truly begins, because transformation doesn't happen when someone gains power. Transformation happens when the old self stops working. Verso slowly realizes you cannot protect everyone, you cannot control outcomes, you cannot remain unchanged, and accepting that becomes his greatest challenge. Every protagonist has a point where the story asks, "Who are you?" when certainty disappears. Verso's answer isn't immediate. That's what makes him powerful. He doesn't suddenly become fearless. He doesn't unlock instant clarity. Instead, he keeps moving, step after step, choice after choice. Even when the destination no longer makes sense, that persistence becomes his defining trait. Not confidence, not power, endurance. Verso evolves from someone trying to preserve what existed into someone willing to create what comes next. That shift changes everything. By this point, Verso isn't the same person as we met in the beginning, and his evolution can be broken into 3 stages. Stage 1, Observer. Careful, controlled, watching, trying to understand the rules. Stage 2, Survivor. More willing to act, but still tied to fear of losing, still trying to minimize damage. Stage 3, Creator. This is the final transformation, the moment Verso stops reacting to the world and begins defending himself independently of it, not because uncertainty disappears, but because meaning becomes a choice. That's the difference. At the start, Verso searches for answers. By the end, he becomes one. A lot of games mistake complexity for constant tragedy. Expedition 33 does something different. Verso feels human. His growth isn't explosive. It's cumulative. Small moments, quiet reactions, gradual changes, and because of that, when he finally transforms, it feels earned. His journey reminds us of something uncomfortable. You don't become yourself all at once. You become yourself through choices, through loss, through continuing when certainty disappears. That's why Verso stays memorable. Not because he's the strongest, but because he changes. By the end of Expedition 33, Verso isn't simply another character who survived the journey. He becomes proof that identity isn't fixed. That meaning isn't discovered, it's built. And in a world where everything can be erased, that might be the bravest thing anyone can do. Verso's story isn't really about winning, it's about becoming. And maybe that's why his journey starts with us long after the credits roll. But that's just one interpretation. What do you think? Was Verso always destined to become who he became? Or did the expedition change him? Leave your thoughts below, and if you want more deep character breakdowns from Expedition 33, subscribe, because this story isn't over.